Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited for this episode of Aligned and Ambitious Radio. Welcome back. I am here to talk to you today with so many incredible women who are so embodied in their own nourishment and their own mission. And I want to just preface this whole episode by introducing the Nourish movement. I accidentally launched a membership a couple of months ago. Around the mission and the movement and the belief system that well-nourished women change the world. And I found myself, I was just telling these ladies that I'm normally so good at articulating what's going on inside my programs, what programs are all about. But with Nourish, it's so intimate, it's so individual. It means something different to everyone, as I'm finding out. And so I wanted to bring on all of the nourished women, literally as many as would want to come on the show to talk about what it actually means to them, especially as we're getting ready to open up a 7-day free trial into the Nourish community, which I'm really excited about. So if you guys are listening, June 1st through the 10th, you can come on in. Our doors are wide open. Come hang out with us and see what the Nourish movement is, what the mission is, and if it's something that's really aligned to you. So with all of that being said, let's get into today's episode. I want to introduce you to the amazing panel of clients and friends and brilliant women I have sitting before me. So we have Heather from Curated Solopreneur. We have Jody from Neutrality Muse, Xandra, who is our profit genius for small business owners, and Amanda, who's the founder of Outbound Yoga. So thank you guys all for being here, and I'll link all of the women in the show notes if you guys want to check them out. But I want to open up the conversation, just an open dialogue, to prompt you guys with, what does it mean to you to be a well-nourished woman? When I say that, what are the things that come to mind? I know for me, I'll start off. Right. I know we'll get in the flow. When I think of being a well-nourished woman, for me, it's like taking care of myself is always the top priority, from a place of, if I'm showing up for my clients at 50%, if I'm showing up for my family at 30%, if I'm showing up depleted for everybody else, I'm not making the impact that I want. That feels so misaligned for me for so many reasons. It feels unethical, if you will. It's out of integrity for me to show up at a limited capacity if I'm not doing the things that I know will replenish my energy and fuel my soul, to make sure that I'm not pouring from an empty cup, which ultimately leads to resentment and burnout and exhaustion and depression, and the list goes on and on and on.
I will speak to that, because I was just telling someone today about the program and about your coaching, and how the irony of it is that all of the times in my business when I did really well is when I wasn't focusing on strategy and all of this stuff. It was when I was having fun and just literally living my quote best life. And then people were just drawn to whatever it was that I was doing. And so for me, it really comes down to the whole idea of, especially in what I do with yoga, practicing what it is that I preach.
Yeah.
And I just feel that the more I've taken time to take care of myself, even in the littlest moments, if I'm taking 10 minutes a day to listen to one of the drops that you put in there, I just feel like it magnetizes me a little bit.
I was just playing with wording and reworking some sales page things. And I'm like, Nourish is really the place for big space holders to replenish their energy, but amplify their own magnetism. And I think it's so important to also highlight that nourishment doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time, right? I think a lot of women are holding a lot of things. They're really, really busy. If they're moms, if they have a business or multiple businesses or multiple ventures or whatever the case may be, I think it can be really easy for us to put ourselves on the back burner by default. And Amanda, you specifically, we were on a coaching call a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, everything in your business comes second. You better get a good night's sleep. You better drink your water. Everything else can come secondary, but that's really counterintuitive to the way that we were taught business from a traditional standpoint.
Yeah. It's made a massive difference. And it's funny because I know there's like those articles that say like self-care isn't just like bubble baths. And I think that's what I've done. I'm like, how can I take care of myself? And like all these ways that I'm avoiding
Mm.
the actual issue instead of just taking time to like sit with myself and be like, okay, what's like really going on? Like, what do I actually need a bath, or do I need like a deep breath and like a glass of water?
Yeah, like, do I need to like go through some emotional release, because
Yeah.
nourish isn't always graceful and beautiful either. I think sometimes nourishing ourselves can feel like, I don't want to use the word dense, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Like digging into the root cause, what's actually going on. Let me be honest with myself, radically honest with myself. That's a form of self-nourishment.
And I really like what you said, Amanda, because I have noticed that too. I'm 10 months postpartum now. And in the beginning, for you who are mothers, you know how it is with a little baby that wakes up every 2 hours. Nourish myself was, not really as high up on my list as I would have wanted it to be. And I moved in the middle of it too. And then when I started this year, first, for me, it's a lot about mind body connection though. Like when I take care of my body, I tend to take care of my mind better. So I had just started working out when I joined Nourished, and all of it kind of just made sense. Time it needs to be like, it's, at least for me, it's been like that. It's all or nothing. But then I just started like,
Mhm.
I walk with my son to daycare now, and guess what? Then I can listen to the podcast. I can listen to Nourish. I can do all of those things, and it doesn't need to be this big leap. It's just like small changes here and there, and then they kind of stack up on each other. Like they kind of just compound.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good point. Jody, you look like you're gonna say something.
Before I came on, I looked up the definition of the word because I wanted to really understand its meaning, and not what I thought. I wanted to understand the actual meaning of the word, not my opinion of it, nothing like that. So I looked up, and it's talking about providing the environment to feed, to supply, to encourage, to grow, to maintain. And that is a place of overflow, which facilitates creation.
Yeah.
And if you're in a space, use terms like empty cup or that's just the first one that comes to mind. You can't, it's a simple image of the mind if you can't pour from an empty cup, but we do things that we think are nourishing ourselves because we think it's a task that we have to do. So it almost becomes dense, like you said, like I have
Yeah.
first so I can do the thing. It's not because you're nourishing yourself, it's so you can like pour out. You're like, I have to fill this cup so I can pour. How do I fill the cup so I can pour? Instead of sitting and filling the cup and being like, oh, it feels good to fill the cup, and that to me,
Yes.
nourishment is the enjoying the filling of the cup, not worrying if somebody else is not getting because you're filling your cup. And then when you're in a space where you have it full and you can give, then you give. And the nourishment, I didn't realize how much I needed this. I came in experimentally. It looked really interesting. I had been following you for a while and liked the things that you'd done. I felt like kind of like drawn in a little more and drawn in a little more. And I was like, let me try this. And halfway through, I was doing things that I would have never done for myself. And it was such a subtle change that I literally was like, I'm not even like working one-on-one with a coach right now. I was like, what the hell's going? I was like, oh, I'm in this thing every day. Like I'm in this thing, like challenging what I've been doing. And it was like, these tiny little steps that all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, there's change. Wow, there's like, I'm looking at things differently, but it was so subtle. It didn't feel like what do I have to do to fill my cup? It was just filling it nourishing little by little by little by little. And that to me is when I really think about what nourishment is. It's doing it because of the enjoyment of filling the cup, not filling it to empty it again. Not like, I think Amanda, you were saying, what do I have to do to take care of myself so I can keep moving? It's like, no, what do I like get to do to take care of myself, to fill and to nourish, so.
I love that you said that, because I think we are just so in the rhythm of like, let me do, let me give, let me accomplish, let me excel, that nourishment itself becomes a box to check. And I think one of the things we even talked about inside the membership is like the manifestation concept of like sitting to get, like you're doing it to get your next big idea, your $1 million idea, the next client to drop in. And then it's not always instant gratification like that. So we start to get into our heads like, is this really the thing? I must be missing a strategy. And it's like, I feel like I've had this revelation in the last couple months in my own life and business where I'm like, this is truly, with the hundreds and hundreds of clients and business owners I've worked with over years, this is the common denominator. They are never missing the strategy. They're usually suppressing their voice. They're usually burnt out. They're usually doing things that they hate. They usually aren't feeding their mind and expanding their mind. Like they're so in this bubble of like the way things have to look, or like they've been taught a certain way of what it feels like to grow your business, that like even just being provoked to me is a form of nourishment. Like every time I'm like, oh, I get to see something differently, like that to me is like, give me more. I feel so good. And that for me is like a trigger of like, I want to give to others. I'm expanding, and other people are too.
I think when you're in that space of being fullness, it doesn't matter when there's overflow, and then it's just like a bonus, as opposed to being resentful that you're filling the cup and nothing's happening. You know,
Yeah. And then you formulate like a poor relationship with the relationship with yourself.
because then you're like, now I'm nourishing myself and it's actually setting me back more because I have to take the time to this is boring, this sucks, let me do this to get that. And then you're not, instead of being like, no, this matters more than the getting of whatever the thing I think I needed. This is what I need.
And this is all about too, like, it's about taking care of the woman behind the brand. And so when we're talking about nourishment, and I'm the same way with definitions, anytime I use a word, I'm like Googling it right away to wrap my arms around it. So I love that definition, because to me, like, there's forms of physical nourishment, there's spiritual nourishment, there's emotional nourishment, there's, energetic nourishment. There's so many ways to nourish ourselves. And I think having a variety, depending on what season we're in, is so important. But like Amanda said, like you said, it becomes let me take a bubble bath and post it on Instagram. And all of a sudden, I'm embodied and I'm whole and I'm happy. And it's like, there's more depth than that though, Heather, you're giggling. What are you thinking?
It's just like Jody said, like, I didn't know I needed this until I was in it. It's like, as a mom, as a business owner, and now I'm working a full-time job and running my business. It's like, it's so easy to put yourself on the back burner. And it's like, okay, so let me just get some sleep, or, let me make sure I eat 3 square meals today. But it's like, I was so used to checking boxes and doing to get something that I never really took time to just pause and be, and it's like, in the membership, you prompt us to just sit with it and be, or to just like really think about what we're doing and question why we're doing it. Just like yesterday's prompt is like, where are you sitting in maybe? And I was like, oh my God.
I feel like everyone felt so seen by that one.
Felt so called out, but at the same time, I was like, she asked such great questions.
It's so funny too, because you also see like everyone's in the same spot in terms of like, oh, fuck. Oh, I gotta look at that. Oh, I haven't really thought about that before. And that's like where the radical honesty, I think, comes into play, because it's easy to like, oh, I don't have 10 minutes today. Like that journal prompt, fuck a journal prompt, or like that makes me uncomfortable. I think it was actually Amanda that you were like, I was resisting this specific prompt.
I literally cried, like walking my dog. I was listening to you in my ear, and my dog barked at like a stroller, and I was like, it set me off, and I was like, my life is a maybe. Like,
Exactly. It's like Taylor just knows how to just ask those questions that make us like, oh my God, I am doing that. Oh my God, everything is a maybe, but at the same time, it's like, being in this group with all of these wonderful, amazing women, it helped me so much, because you feel like you're in this bubble and you're the only one going through it.
Yeah.
Because Instagram, nobody's going to say, like, oh, well, I love my business, but everything in my business is a maybe. Nobody's going to be honest. You know, they're not
Yeah.
going to say that, but we have this safe space that you created, and we can tell each other that, and we can support each other through it. So it's like, yes, Amanda can come in and say, like, this prompt really made me cry and I was resisting it. I was listening to it at like 12:30 at night. So it's like I wasn't crying, but it's like it really just it made me wake up. You
Ooh.
know, it's like I was trying to sleep, but it made me wake up, and it just made me do like um a catalog of like where are the maybes at, you know? And it's like I'm like, either I need to go all in or I need to just do a full stop, but I need to stop like
Ooh.
jumping back and forth. Like, I'm going to do it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, you know, because I'm always looking at is this going to check the box? I
Mm.
don't need it to check the box. You know, I need to be embodied and be myself and go all in and not be doing things just for the result.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, and it's like no one's ever made me think that it's okay to do things without expecting a result. You know, it's like if you're not getting a result, you're wasting your time. You
Right.
know, you're losing money, time is money, and all of those things, you know, the masculine things. But it's like, I don't have to do it to gain something. How about I just do it because I want to? You know, how
Yeah.
about I just do it because it feels good?
And
You
we're like
know?
in a realm where we're like, yeah, checking the boxes. Actually, surprise, we're getting rid of the boxes altogether. What's a box?
Mhm.
We don't check those here. And actually, it's a new way, a new era I've been referring as to it of like operating your life and operating your business. It's a lot of unraveling, it's a lot of unlearning, it's a lot of like entertaining the possibility of it can be that easy, it can be that light, it can be that simple, it can be that fun, and like a big permission slip. But now do you guys see him like having such a hard time marketing Nourish, because that's what everyone says, like, I didn't know I came here for this, and like putting into words what this even is so deep. You know, it's a transformation of self and how you lead your life and how that pours into your business. But Sandra, what are you thinking over there?
No, it was just when I listened to all of you, it was just so funny because I didn't know. Well, I knew I kind of needed it, but it had actually shown in the weirdest ways. Like I had problem getting in shape after pregnancy, and all of a sudden, I'm not triggered like, oh, should I go to the gym, or like I'm not where I should be. I'm more like, I'm doing this for me, and I'm like completely happy with it. And every little progress I do, I'm like, good job. And it sounds weird, but like I used to be really hard on myself if I didn't do all the progress. Like I kind of say that I'm like a recovering, goal addict, because like I used to be so hard on myself, but like they just show up. And since I'm actually, like, it's not surprising, I see it more and more since I work a lot with people, like how they're gonna keep profit, how are they gonna do that when people are burned out. Honestly, even strategically, they don't make very good decisions. They are making decisions out of
Yeah.
fear.
Really,
and
really good point. Yeah.
and so everyone thinks that if I'm just doing all of these things, and when I look at them, I'm like, no, now you're making decisions because you're burned out. It's out of fear. It's not in alignment, and you're grabbing at quick things that you think are quick wins.
Yes.
So
Yes. Jody, what do you have to say? I know we all just were like, yes to that.
I was following up or to her point of nourishing is the fullness, is the inner satisfaction. So you're not making those decisions out of desperation, anger, frustration, pain, whatever. It's having a being inner or satisfied from within. So you're not like grasping at straws, like you were saying, like burnout decision, those kind of like,
Yeah.
please help me decisions, which are never really that bad. They just feel that bad when you're in that space.
I meet so many women who are just like so overwhelmed by what the next step is. Like they want to make the best use of their time. They want to make the best use of their energy. They don't know where to allocate their focus. They don't know what's going to move the needle. Sometimes they're just like paralyzed, or they've tried so many things, or they're spread too thin. And it's like, all of that can literally be cured by taking some time and space to like take care of yourself in whichever way you might need it at that point. Sometimes it's a good cry like Amanda had. Like sometimes it's going for a walk. Sometimes it's a good night's sleep. Sometimes it's a really healthy meal. Sometimes it's connecting with a friend, whatever it is. But I find that like it's almost so stupid simple. Like I look around, it's one of those things that really light a fire within me. Yes, it is that easy. You know, like 95% of our business problems, air quotes, could be solved by deepening your relationship with yourself, spending more time with yourself, connecting with your intuition, like connecting with other people who get it, being in powerful rooms, expanding your mind. Like it's the simple things that are pretty much readily available, but we go out of our way to like think it needs to be a stay at the Ritz-Carlton or a $20,000 pay in full business investment. We've just got it so twisted and distorted, you know?
But
So
that's the narrative that we're being fed, you know? It's like the online space is still, even though it's shifting, like the shift has been monumental and everybody's felt it and everybody's had to, you know, change how they sell and how they show up.
yeah,
However, it's still, we've been under bro marketing for so long, it's still in the back of our minds, you know? So it's like, you can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, the market shifted, so now I'm just going to completely change, make this left turn. Like it doesn't happen overnight because it's been such a habit. So now we do have to unravel it and we do have to unlearn it. You know, it's like we can take the steps to start doing business differently, but internally, do we believe that doing it this new way is actually going to work? You know, can we commit to it? Can we be confident in it because we've never done it like this before? And it's like, we know that this used to work, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, can we trust ourselves going forward? You know, do we have that relationship with ourselves to just take that big leap? It's like, okay, I'm going to do a completely new thing. I'm going to jump off this new thing cliff and it's going to work,
yeah.
you know?
And you're almost faced with this scary mirror of like, what are you willing to do to make a buck? Like, are you willing to continue in a way that doesn't feel good just because someone promised you it was going to make you X amount of money? Like, where are we losing the discernment? Where are we losing our own voice? And I think Nourished to me is a space to amplify your own voice and amplify the discernment to know what's for you, what's correct for you. Because something that I've just always believed about business is there's a million ways. We will find your way, but the only way we can find your way is if you're honest with me and yourself about what is not your way, what you don't like, what you're craving more of. And the way to do that is to give yourself some space to listen. Actually, my mom had just said something because we were camping and she's like, it's funny when you slow down, sometimes life catches up to you. And we create that space. And I think a lot of the times that can make people really uncomfortable when they create the space potentially for the first time in their life. And all this stuff starts to bubble up and they're not really sure what to do with it. They're not sure how to cope with it. They don't necessarily have the tools to like regulate through it and navigate it. And so then they shut it all down. And I think that that's something that needs to be talked about too. And we need to like equip women with better tools, with better exercises, rituals, just giving them the toolkit to face what comes up, because that to me is nourishment. I would love to hear from you guys' perspective, because I'm sure we're all going to have different answers, but what are the ways that you nourish yourself? Like, how do you make it a commitment when things are busy? How do you prioritize yourself? What does that look like for you guys?
First of all, you said all of that, and I am having like a major, I in my yoga class, it's terrible when your own words like come back at you. I always say the thing you don't want to look at is the thing that's holding you back, which is what all of this has been actually. And like, I'll say, like, I ended up in the group by accident because I had signed up to work with you anyway. And I was like, I don't need this self-care.
LOL.
I don't need it. I was like, I journal. What is this going to do for me? Like, I was like, waste of time. Like, I don't have time. And then now I'm realizing, I'm like, okay, like the thing that I don't want to sit with is like myself. And that's what's holding me back. And I mentioned this before. You said this thing, it's changed my life. I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm asking everyone this. You said, do you feel like you're doing things like you're being chased by a bear? And I was like, yes. I'm posting on Instagram like I'm being chased by a bear. I'm writing emails like I'm being chased by a bear. Like I'm like even like healthy routines, like I'm being chased, like my life is depending on it. And so the ways that I have really looked at, well, I had to look at what's important to me, my business. I'm obsessed with working all the time. So I'm like, okay, my business needs certain things to sustain itself, to like function.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I need like to sustain myself to function? Because without me, like there's no business, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing has been like I have been walking outside every day. And I will re-listen to a lot of the drops that you put in there. And I love listening to what other people have to say. That's my favorite part. I find being an entrepreneur personally, I feel very lonely a lot of the times in what I go through. And I feel like I'm like, oh, my friends wouldn't understand that, or I don't know a lot of other entrepreneurs. And so to even just hear other people talking about what they're going through, to me is so nourishing, because it makes me feel a lot less alone. And also, I just have to say, I don't feel like people ask a lot of questions in life anymore. And that's what's so beautiful about this space is you are coming in and asking questions. And I was like, how, like, even like, I was like, where can I ask more questions to the people like in my life? Because to me, that's made the biggest difference, is just, it just feels like, I know there's other people in there, but sometimes I'm like, oh, this is just us in there. Like, she's just checking in with me and like asking me this question. And it's, yeah, like it's like really, really special. And I just feel like I have to say that, especially because I was like, this is just, what is this, like
Mhm.
30 days, like we're gonna all kumbaya. I was like, I don't need it.
Like I was literally so close to just making it $1 because I'm like, I know all you bitches are like looking for the sales bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I fucking know it, but just trust me. And for you guys listening who maybe didn't catch it, when I was marketing it for the first time, I was like, this is not an experiment to me because I know what's going to happen, but like challenge yourself, show up for yourself, like blow your own mind to really like, show up for yourself in a big way. But I love what you said about being in community, because in the first couple of years of building my business, I was like, I'm just so not interested in making friends. Like I have my coaches. I am like a lone wolf. I really love being in my own energy. I don't love group projects. Like that's just the way I've always been. And so I never really prioritized pouring into like friendships, relationships with peers. And I would say after having my son is where I was like, I really need community. Like I need a village. I need to pour into people without expecting them to pour into me, without me pouring into them, and that whole cycle. And so I love the Nourished space because I'm like, I don't even know how this happened. Just a perfect orchestra of amazing human beings, but like just the vulnerability. And I think the willingness to be witnessed in your process, like the honesty that comes forward and just the reflections inspire the shit out of me. Because I'm like, we are all really walking such a similar path, and pouring into each other is nourishing. What are some other ways you guys self-nourish? Who wants to go?
I find that I'm just have much, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead, Jody.
No, you can go.
I have more of we always have an awareness, but instead of, it's the only way I could think of it, and I was trying to think of it without saying it, it's just being in my feminine, like being
Yeah.
it's like the masculine was what I was in for a long time of if I work harder, if I push more, if I go past exhaustion, if I keep up. And now I'm like, do I feel like it? Like there are obvious obligations and responsibilities, but I have like a meter of like, do I feel like it? Like, do I want to do it? And like we were having a conversation in another call about like the spacious structure of, okay, there are things that I can do inside this structure, but do I really feel like doing it like that? Or maybe I can do it this way and be more in that space. Because when you even think of nourishment, it's a feminine energy, like it's a nourishing, is motherly, is, you know, for growth, is promoting growth. So like being in that energy, just taking care of yourself. And it's not just, like saying, I'm just gonna, do some self-care real quick and like whatever. Like I'm turning off my phone, I'm closing, everything, I'm doing this, I'm taking a walk, I'm doing what do I want to do, and listening to that more, because it's not this necessarily, oh, I'm going to get a facial, then I'm going to feel better, and then we're going to like, that's not what I feel like canceling my facial because I don't feel like going. Like that's like,
That is so real. I tell my husband every time I go get my nails done, I'm like, I wish I could just blink and they would be done, because I hate sitting there. It does not feel nourishing to me at fucking all. But like what Heather was saying, it's like we have been taught to run our businesses the same way as men, and like we are so fundamentally different. We have our different cycles, we're different hormonally, like we are different in so many ways that we're meant to be in our creative, we're meant to be adaptable, we're meant to flow, we're meant to like lean back. It's the essence, it's the magnetism, it's the sensuality. And it's so funny because like a lot of my mastermind clients will even come to me and be like, I have this thing, I want to sell this thing, I think I'm going to do this, what do you think I should do? I'd love to talk about it. And I'm like, what do you feel really excited about? Like, that's my $1 million question to you, because that's always the starting point, like starting from a place of, I want to be here. This is like from pure desire, whether it's going to the facial, canceling the facial, doing a webinar, sending an email, showing up on a live stream, doing a podcast. Do it because you freaking want to, because the moment you start to do things because you feel like you have to, or someone else sold you this big promise, like that is, I think, a really fast track to actually self-depletion.
And someone was talking about the energy of working to get, working to book that room, working to do the thing, you're working for that feeling of fulfillment. And then when I noticed, I'm like, I already have everything. Like being like, why am I busting my ass to go on vacation? Like, I'm already happy here. It's the vacation is like, like the carrot that I think I should be working for, but I'm like, I don't really need, like, I'm happy. Like, and that's the nourishment, is being like, I already, not in a way to say don't have a goal or don't work or don't this or don't desire, but like seeing and really being like, holy shit, like I already have so much. Like vacation sounds good, but I'm not going to burn myself out to book a room or do the thing,
And it's arbitrary sometimes. Like I work with a lot of women who, once they do slow down and they create the space, it's almost like, oh my God, I built something that I don't like. Now you're left with a choice, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. So like, are you going to continue to build something that you don't want, or are you going to choose differently to like be really mindful and thoughtful about where you're taking your business in the next direction? And I think that that is so, so vital.
Yeah, I like that.
Xandra, what were you going to say?
First of all, I was kind of laughing because I was the same as Amanda. I was like, I guess I'm in here, but I don't think I need this.
You are not alone. Yeah.
But honestly, I think the best question for me you asked in there was like, what would my 10x do? But the 10x version of myself do. And just, I think nourishment for me, because I was listening when talking and I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know what I actively do, but it's actually probably more what I don't do, or that I take small pauses and just listen.
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to be doing this? Okay, no. Or sometimes yes. But I think that has been, and it's so subtle, but it has made a huge difference.
That was day one. That was what we started with, like the practice of just checking in. And anyone listening, you guys can do this. I've probably shared this somewhere else before, but on day one of the membership where we were focusing on embodiment, it was all about like practice checking in with yourself as much as possible to pick up your body cues. So it's like, wake up in the morning, put your hand on your heart and be like, do I want coffee or orange juice? Like, let your energy decide, let your soul decide. And like, you will build that and integrate it into your life. Then when it comes to bigger decisions, whether it's like an investment, launching a program, hiring a team member, parting ways in a relationship, like, you know, the heavier shit, you have a really good sense of what is yours, what's true for you, what you desire, even if it's hard. Because sometimes nourishment is, like I said, ending relationships, having hard conversations, holding up a boundary, and self-preservation in a way, and knowing how to navigate that, be detached from it, not own other people's opinions of you, not doing things to please other people. Like, this is a whole way of life. This is not a membership, it's a movement, it's a way of being, it's something to maintain, it's something that we stand by, and it's a choice that we make every single day. It's a conscious choice that we make.
But you know what's cool? I had someone reaching out because of that 2 days ago or something, and they wanted me to do something that I have done before, but I didn't want to. And this time it was very easy to say no.
Yes, I love that. It gets easier, more natural, no second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like, I wasn't thinking, I was very polite, and like, this is, I think, like, no is a full sentence kind of thing, that I was just like, this is just not in my plans right now, but thank you for reaching out to me, kind of thing.
Not compromising to make $1. And that's like something that I see all the time too. I have to sell this if I want to make that. I have to sell high ticket. I have to sell low ticket. I have to be a business coach. I have to do this. I have to do that. Like, there are so many ways that money can flow into your life through your business and other forms. Where do you want it? And where do you want to be spending your time? And are you creating the space to let it flow in the ways that you actually want? But Heather, I would love to hear, what are some ways you nourish yourself?
It's just like everyone was saying, like, for me, I think honoring my boundaries is nourishing for me, because I've never been a people pleaser. However, I have lived in an obligatory state for so long. It's like, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah.
And it's like, I would just pick up things that weren't mine because I saw that they needed to be done. And I'm just like, I have such an overdeveloped sense of responsibility. It's like, well, if you're not going to do it, I'll just handle it, and it made me miserable. And it's like, I realized that, but then now going through the 30 days in Nourish and now joining a membership, it's like, I don't have to do that. Like,
I'm not picking that up.
It's like, I'm just honoring my boundaries, and it made me feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
Because the world's not going to stop if somebody else doesn't handle their responsibilities. And it's not my job to pick up somebody else's responsibilities. It's like, even like with my kids, like my son, he just graduated high school, but it's like, now he's getting ready for college. And I'm like, actually being hands off, it's like a miracle. It's a miracle. It's like, I'm not trying to get all the paperwork done, and I'm not trying to make all the phone calls and stuff. It's like, he's a grown ass man. Like, if you want to go to school, like, you'll get it done. If you don't get it done, I got all my degrees. I'm good.
It's like, show up, like, now you're showing up as power meets power. I am powerful, so are you. I'm gonna call you up. Where before it was like, I'll meet you where you are. And in fact, I'll even take myself lower. But it's like, no, I'm up here. You're
exactly.
Up you, I do me. We have our degrees. And like, you attract different people into your life when you operate from that state of being.
Yeah. And it's been so amazing, because it's like a lot of the things that used to happen, a lot of the things that people would say to me before, it's like, it just fell off the map. Nobody comes at me like that. And I'm like, this is amazing. It's like, I'm not even saying anything, and they're just self-regulating. So I don't have to like check them. It's like, I don't have to bring up my boundaries. They're just there, and people are just honoring them without me saying anything.
Yeah.
And it's just
honoring them.
it's so peaceful.
Peaceful.
It's so peaceful.
That comes to mind when I think of nourishment too, just like a really serene, peaceful feeling of like,
Exactly. It's
the-
like I'm out walking in nature by the lake, but I'm like anywhere, and it just always feels like that.
oh my God, what a visual, like mic drop. Everyone should want to live their life like that.
Yes, it's so helpful. So helpful.
Oh my gosh. And for anyone listening, like, take us up on the free trial. Like, you don't need to believe me. You don't need to believe anyone in this room. Like, come hang out, come meet us, come see what doors are opened. And like, if it's not 110% for you, like, we love you. And I was recording some videos today for the launch, and one of my team members was like, oh my God, I love this video. And I was like, to me, it's like, I'm always rooting for my clients when they make the most correct choice for them. Sometimes that's like leaving programs. Sometimes that's like going elsewhere. And I'm always in support of you and whatever that means for you. But find nourishment somewhere. So come in, give it a try. If you love it, we'd love to have you. You're probably going to come in thinking, yeah, I didn't need this. I just signed up for the free trial, and get sucked into the vortex of holy shit, I'm opening my eyes now for the first time and seeing myself clearly and seeing my vision clearly, and like letting myself actually step into that person, even though there's fears and stories and all the things, and just letting the duality of life exist. And I could just go on and on, but it's such a beautiful space. And if you guys have any last kind of thoughts, reflections of what it means to be well nourished, what to tell the people in the aligned and ambitious community about self-nourishment, I'll open the floor to you guys as we start to close this episode.
I have just an image that kept coming to mind that I just wanted to share.
Yes.
I don't remember who was saying it about letting it be done, but it's like, I always think of the woman in like the, I don't know, 40s and 50s, when they drop a napkin, they don't even bother to pick it up because somebody else picks it up for them. And that, you know what I mean? And like, that's being nourished. It's like, I'll be fine without it, but it'll be taken care of. Like, it's taken care of.
Regardless.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you show up way different when you know it's working out for you, no matter fucking what. Like, wow.
Definitely.
Amanda, were you going to say something?
Yeah, the first thing that I thought is there's that, I hope I don't ruin the saying, like, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I think of it. It's like, where are you putting yourself and who are you spending time with? And that's for me, I'm like, oh, like, I feel so much more like I have a, like, it's again, the community of it. It's like, I don't know. Why wouldn't you do the free trial? Like,
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm going to send it to so many people.
I'm literally like, no, just like take it for free. Trust me, I love it. Like, when you're just so behind your own product, you know?
Yep.
Any final thoughts, guys? We're feeling complete. What a good conversation. I hope that you guys listening take away, like, if there's anything that you need to prioritize, it's yourself. Like, starting today, you've listened to this episode. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. Like, if your business needs to come second, so be it for a little while as you find the harmony of replenishing yourself. And if this is the first time you're even hearing about this concept and conversation, it might take you a little bit longer to replenish that cup that has been pouring and spilling out for quite some time, and that's okay. But our whole, intention is to meet ourselves with compassion, to meet ourselves with patience and kindness, and like to meet the most powerful versions of ourselves every single day through every single choice and decision. And that's nourishing. So thank you guys for being on the episode. I will link everybody in the show notes. You guys could definitely feel their energy, I'm sure. I was so excited to see you guys tonight and to have this conversation. But yeah, every single person inside Nourish is just brilliant. Like, I can't even think of another word besides just so brilliant, so in their power, so open, so ready to show the hell up for themselves. And that, in my opinion, creates just a ripple effect. Like, I'm inspired by you guys every day, and I love connecting with you guys inside Nourish. So
It's definitely mutual.
I'm so glad. Hearts. So yeah, come hang out with us, you guys. I will link it in the show notes as well. Go to my Instagram at Taylor Slango. The link will be in my bio, and you can register for your free 7 days up until June 10th. So we'll love to see you. We'll love to meet you, and have a great rest of your week.